Hey there, everyone. Welcome to my talking corner. So I'm trying to start, but apparently something's going on, and my portal isn't showcasing on OBS for some reason. I'm trying to figure this out as to why it's not doing it. Why is it? Hmm. Come on. What's up?
Okay, just all right. He gave me an option real quick, and it was just like, is it picking up that I plugged my microphone in, and it's asking me to switch to that, or is it shorting out on me or something? You streaming yet or no?
I am, but for some reason, it's not capturing my game anymore.
Did OBS have an update of some sort, or?
I don't know. Well, here's the thing. It is capturing the Portal 2 window. It's just that though it's showing a blank screen.
Ugh.
The hell, Portal 2. Maybe just work around.
It's actually just before this
A
Adrian's Revenge.
window capture. Let's go with that.
Mr. House's real voice.
Okay, that works.
But when I do, I also shoot lasers away from.
Okay, that works. Let's go with that instead. So I'll just remove this. Put this in the very bottom. There we go. I don't know why that it was being on a gigantic problem.
Gigantic ass. Ass.
There we go. There we go. Like
Got Rocco, here comes my ass.
is I the Rat Man?
Oh, I did finish the outline on that before.
All right. Anyway, so let's start proper. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to my talk corner. I'm Kencha Sakura, and with me, as always, is my on again, off again co-host Edward Bontel.
Yo.
And like oh, by the way, Edward, before I start doing this though, like since you're still waiting on the diagnosis on your computer, I don't know. Do you want to join me on occasionally? I play single player on Dinkum.
Maybe.
No, it's because I've been watching on our friend Chris as they play Animal Crossing. It's like I should go back to playing Dinkum. Because I don't know. I'm missing. I mean, it's either that or I just straight up just play Stardew Valley. I mean, Stardew Valley is always an option. Stardew Valley is freaking fun. It's one of the few games. One of the few games I'm mentally blocking for some reason. It's like it's fun. It has a lot of replay value, like comparatively to like Minecraft and Fallout 4, and like and every time you play it though, it's always different. But I don't know why I'm mentally blocking it.
I don't know either. Why is it wrong with my audio?
Especially on since they added multiplayer. Like dude, they added multiplayer to it, so you and I can start kind of co-oping Stardew Valley.
Oh, I am not going down that rabbit hole. I'm sorry.
I mean, you know,
there's already so many people that I know that play Stardew Valley that I really just don't want to get into it.
What you're overburdened with
it?
You got
my brother, you got his girlfriend, you've got Sushi, you got a friend of Sushi's that have all played together at one point in time. Ugh.
Oh, you got burnt out like freaking Borderlands.
No, I've looked at it and it's just it does not appeal to me.
I mean, fair, but the same aspects of it though are well, the mechanical aspects of the skill leveling isn't Dinkum. So I'm surprised you were playing that. Not because of the fact that the one reason why you're hooked to it is because one is Australian, two it's a voxel based map, so like Minecraft, and three the core aspect of it though is like Animal Crossing. Well, anyway, community test chambers. Let's see.
I've almost definitely completed the pictures for tomorrow. It's just I'm working on yours right now.
All right.
Yours is the one that's giving me the most problem.
Is it because of the caps?
No, it's because when I scanned all the pictures in it, because of the way I drew yours, and I did not take into account that the paper that I used is 9 inches by 12 inches, it actually cut off your hand.
Oh.
And I had to sit here and go, should I just try to redraw it in my editing software, or should I just rescan it? So I looked at it and went, I'm just gonna rescan it. So I ended up having to like go down to rescan it at the office store, as it were.
Staples.
Okay.
Alright, so first I walk through the test by. Alright, so hold on. It's a walkthrough test by Shrimp Brony.
I'm surprised that worked out for me. Fuck, that was not.
Okay, first and foremost, no portal gun.
I am Shrimp Brony of San Francisco tree.
Okay, so what to deal with?
Oh,
this BS.
Shrimp-a-roni, the San Francisco tree.
Alright, so it's Portal Teacher but with no portal gun.
Thanks, I'm dead.
Why? Oh.
Wait, what is that? Is it on that? It's on that. Okay,
Oh, it's one of these things. Okay. Quantum physics. I think is the right term.
Quantum burrito meals.
Whoa. 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 Okay. Let's stack right there. Ow. You know what I keep seeing on like on any Fallout media whatsoever? How the ghoul, or you know, we now know again, spoiler by the way of the Fallout TV series.
See, this is what I don't get about that when people say spoiler. It's very obvious who the ghoul is.
Well, not in the first episode.
Like, no, but I mean, it's obvious they're gonna. No, it kind of is. If you're well versed in Fallout, you're gonna know exactly who it is based purely on like the opening of the.
Oh yeah, of the freaking the cow. But here's the thing, don't we? Well, okay, I get what you're saying though, but again, not most of the people that aren't on Fallout enthusiasts, so won't put two and two together. And plus,
I mean, I guess I don't know. I feel like that's not a super big spoiler because it's not really like super relevant to the plot, to be honest.
Well, anyway, so like I was saying,
character, but I mean, it's
like,
not really like that big of a spoiler.
Well, anyway, like I was saying though, like on one big thing on people arguing about how like how the ghoul, aka Cooper Howard, can immediately kill a Bloodhurst Steel Paladin with one shot. I was like, okay, one, he's from the military. 2, he knows the weakness that killed his allies during the war in Anchorage. 3, he had a blunderbuss that's like some sort of hand cannon, and 4, he shown on screen loaded up an armor-piercing round in said blunderbuss.
Yeah, and then on top of that, it's not like he knew it was gonna work. He literally gambled on that and just came out on top with it. Because he literally goes, let's see if they got rid of that flaw. Because he talked about it in the flashback. Now see, that's a spoiler. He talked about it in the flashback to the guy that worked at West Tech and was like, you guys made the fucking, you guys had that fucking weakness in the T-45, that chest piece. He mentions it early on, so it's not like he immediately was like, yeah, I can totally do it. He's like, well, if this doesn't work, I'm ooped, but I might as well try it anyways.
And another piece of argument is all like, oh, well, he killed that guy one hit, he didn't kill Maximus. Okay, 1, he was toying with Maximus, and 2, Maximus mentioned when talking to Titus is that he noticed that the part of the chest plate on his armor was welded because it was reinforced.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I mean, he's got plot armor. He's a main character. They're not gonna have 2 main characters kill each other off immediately.
My only deal with
build to it, or they're gonna just not do it at all.
My only deal with what the okay, that didn't work out how I wanted. Right, so what was it again? Oh yeah, my only thing about Maximus is that I felt like in the entire first season was only meant to shape him up. The whole entire first season was meant to actually to help Lucy grow, which again makes sense. She's the titular Vault Dweller, and her companion slash mentor was spiritual mentor is gonna be Cooper. And Maximus, I feel like in season 2 might get his redeeming arc and focus on him. Because if you notice the entire storyline, Maximus was on the back burner.
Yeah, it really was mostly a setup for just him. It was mostly just to set him up for something greater later on.
Well, the fact that he was again like a lot of people have been saying that how his luck stat has been through the roof. Like he stumbled upon he stumbled upon being a squire, and he stumbled upon his knight dying so he can get the armor, and now he stumbled upon 1, not getting punished for letting said knight die, and 2, becoming a knight himself at the end of season 1.
Yeah, he did get credit for doing stuff he didn't do. So.
Well, I could see that I could see that his best friend saw what happened, and he was about to say that no, she died by herself, and then so his friend saved them by saying like, oh, like no, shut up, no, you did, hey, no, Maximus, like again, on the one hand, it could be like their friend is like is part of drinking the Kool-Aid of the Brother Steel Kool-Aid, and like oh, he's probably some sort of great thing. On the other hand, it's Max's best friend, so they know that if he doesn't take credit for this, more likely though he's gonna be killed. So he's more likely they're trying to save them, but unintentionally making him putting him more into the spotlight and giving him more stuff to do that might get himself killed.
Yep, he's gonna have to work twice as hard not to be outed as a fucking phony. They gotta put him on fraud alert. They gotta put him on fraud watch. Right up there with Redhead Shanks, because apparently he never did anything. So fraud alert. I love when people bring that up back before like Shanks actually started moving in and doing stuff in the manga. back before Shanks actually was making moves in the manga, people were like, "He's on Fraud Watch. He's on Fraud Watch. I haven't seen him do anything." And then he did all the stuff that we know so far. I'm gonna try not to spoil that, but you and I both know what he's done so far, and obviously the Fraud Watch thing is just—it's hilarious in hindsight. Because they're like, he's never. I've never seen him do anything.
No, I cannot.
I think he's just a big fraud.
To
Just makes all his moves.
go off tangent a bit though, I'm actually sad they got rid of this in the vanilla main game. Oh, those tubes that suck up things and that go near it, like blocks or turrets.
Actually, I don't even have your stream open on anything. Oh, that one hurt.
Are you okay? You didn't pull anything too important?
No. Oh, it's a little sore because I upped the amount of reps that I've been doing for my weights. So I'm a little sore still and a little stiff, but that one was my back. Probably because of the way I position myself since I've been working on the videos. It's not like a really healthy way to do it because I just kind of lean on my shoulder and my elbow and trackpad everything because I don't have I'm doing everything on my laptop, so I don't have a chair next to me. I really don't feel like moving my laptop anywhere. I didn't really need to clean myself. This is fucking garbage. I could actually sit properly a little bit, but it would I would be scooped over because I don't have a backrest on my back. So, just have inoptimal.
Oh.
I'm gonna call OSHA on myself about it.
Oh, sorry, cute friend.
I thought you said sorry, cute friend.
Ah, so that's what that does for me.
That cute looking real cute. Yeah, I know. He does a lot of adult-based streaming now. Shut the fuck up and load. Loading. Reloading.
I'm reloading. Da da.
Is there? No. Where is? All right. So wow, it's not even giving me an option to be like, hey. Would you like to change the quality of the video? No, none of that. No option for that. It is just, here it is, at whatever capacity. I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch it, even my phone is on.
What does that do for me?
Well, it does more than it does for me.
Oh! Cute friend!
And also, my full screen isn't really helping. Oh, I don't know what just happened. I think I rotated it by accident. That is definitely not how that works. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna be able to watch because it lags every 2 fucking seconds on my end, so. New voice back. Oh!
Oh.
Just making sure that
Wrong cube.
where is this? I just got a preview for one of these VTubers that I watch, and I guess she was checking her VTuber model, and she went to move the VTuber model to see, because I guess her background is, I don't know what's going on in her background, but it just put her entire crotch in camera shot. That's
What?
fantastic. You're familiar with Snuffy, right? The raccoon girl VTuber?
Uh-huh. I mean, I also, it was kind of funny, I know about her in passing because you and G-Man will always talk about her at times.
Yeah. Wait, have we talked about Snuffy?
At least, I want to say at least once or twice in passing. But, I also know about her, again, because there's this one YouTuber, and where, they'll animate certain celebrities and VTubers, and to be seen in Family Guy. And you know, of course, they'll use AI to redo on Peter Griffin's voice. To be like, "Oh look, it's so and so from so and so." So they showcase Snuffy, and I think Snuffy was actually reacting to this though, and the little avatar they put in the Family Guy design of Snuffy was basically her VTuber model, but her showing off her tatas. And they're being covered by it was being covered by those little golden circle money things. And I was like, look, it's so-and-so from so-and-so. And she said something in the video, but I forgot. More likely, it was one of her things she said in her streams.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably her large breast model. That was the more popular one for a while, for obvious reasons.
I mean, the same thing. I mean, same thing with Shy Lily.
Yeah, she had her original model. No, Shy Lily's been using the model that she's been using for a while. Snuffy's gone through like 5 or 6 different ones.
Well, I know.
She has like an original one, and then she's got the big-breasted one, and then she's got her VR chat model from the classic one and the Big Tatas one, and then she's got a full-on like raccoon anthro furry one that she's used before. She's got a My Little Pony Pegasus model that she's used as like an April Fool's one, complete with jar. And then she's got one that's kind of like I want to say it's got a gothic feel to it, but that's not 100% accurate. But it's like.
Well, you just say that she has a My Little Pony on model and it has a surrounding jar with it too.
Yes, because it was an April Fool's Day avatar.
Oh.
She's also a fan of My Little Pony, so it kind of tracks that she would have a model for that, but she also has used it as a joke as well as the jar. Because of the joke, because she's a shit poster. Oh man, I'm not even talking about her original model.
Normally that'll kill you. What the hell?
Which was more of a Cheshire Cat, which is why when she had her parents on stream, her dad's VTuber model was a male, like, raccoon guy, and then her mom's was more of a cat, because her original model was a Cheshire Cat girl VTuber model. And then she has one that's kind of vaguely more dark fantasy related that makes me think of, like... more of like a dark, like fae elf type situation going on, and that's kind of the one that she's just been kind of using for the most part. And there's just various like clothing options that she's used with that one. A lot of them are like Harlequin Jester outfits, it seems like, which is the one that's in this video where she ends up like flash banging everybody her for goo essentially. Oh, motherfuckers over here with like fucking 3D VTuber models. I'm sitting here like I can't even afford live 2D.
I mean, we had to draw our 2D ones for our Fallout. Thank you, by the way. Thank you, by the way, Edward.
It's less of a problem than I'm making it out to be. In all honesty, if I had access to my computer that had my tablet on there, I would have been done a hell of a lot sooner.
You still haven't figured out what's wrong with your computer?
No. I don't really have an excuse for what happened last Monday for having my brother look at it. I guess I just wasn't in the mood. Chances are, though, he's already pinpointed it down to the idea that it's either something wrong with my motherboard or something wrong with my SSD drive. Because my SSD drive on that has my operating system on it. And since it didn't boot, or at least the way I described it, he said it sounds like it didn't boot the BIO at all, or like just about even the operating system. He thinks it might be either the motherboard or the solid state drive.
I mean, like, if it was the motherboard, then like that's a huge can of worms right there.
Yep. Although now that I'm thinking about what you said earlier, I feel like you don't understand that I have 2 gaming computers.
Oh no, I do.
Oh, okay. I was like, because you were just like, or you could just join me for blah blah blah, because your other computer isn't working. I'm like, I have 2 gaming computers.
No, I mean, I
won't be able to stream, but I can still like play games and stuff.
No, I just assume like all of your games are current in your current computer, and like your old computer is like on kind of like bereft at the moment.
Oh yeah, no, it's the newer computer. I just have to load stuff. What the fuck is this?
Oh.
Never mind. Sorry, it was just a number as opposed to being like spam risk or telemarketer. So I decided to take it, but for whatever reason, it's like anytime it's a number and I say hello, I wait a few moments, and if nobody says anything, I just hang up because I'm not gonna sit here and have somebody like copy the sound of my voice or like record my voice and be like, he said this. It's like, I'm not. No. The best thing to get out of me is hello, and if you don't say anything, then I'm not doing anything.
I just like Google on answer for me.
I don't know how to do that. But yeah, given the current state of my life at the moment, I kind of have to answer phone numbers in case it's important. What the fuck am I doing? I'm not gonna get into any of that. What the fuck is Harmony? Oh, Harmony. Okay, I just have a bunch of like. I just have like a bunch of like creepypasta / analog horror like review channels open in tabs on my computer. Because I've realized that during the day I can just watch these. Because at night it's like you watch them. You
Oblivion by Daniel Shine 7.
Oh, okay. I get what you said. I was like sitting there. I'm like, why did he just yell a random thing? I'm like, oh wait, I know why he yelled. He finished the level. Yeah, nope.
Cubes, lasers, death water, death field, anti-gravity, and ooh, laser cubes. Ooh, everything's purple.
You know what I just found out the other day?
Wait, is this quantum entanglement?
Quantum burrito.
No, because if you notice that cube right there, it's like reverse gravity is what it wants to go up.
What you're talking about.
Oh.
So it's all Greek to me. Oh, it's an announcement for the update for Power World. Okay.
Oh, there it goes.
Sakurajima upgrade.
Wait, so hold on.
Frog thing? Is that a Palmon? I want the.
What was if I?
Those little cat people.
I feel like I shouldn't be here.
That one's just Dusknoir. They like combined Dusknoir and the Chandelier Pokemon to make a Pokemon, or I guess a pal or whatever it's called. You can get the little frog guy.
Oh. Come here, anti-gravity cube.
Hold on. Okay, there we go. I disconnected for a second there. I found out because I've been watching a lot of like Mad Max related stuff because we're playing Fallout tomorrow. That the Mad Max game does not have the creator of Mad Max, George Miller's name on it because the game was made without his consent.
Really?
Yep. what had happened was they were working on a game. He was originally working on a game in like the mid 2000s. He had a bunch of concepts. It was like him and another guy that worked on the original Mad Max. And that guy was like storyboarding it and like drawing the ideas and stuff. And then because the studio that had the rights to the IP for Mad Max had
So I picked up a cube that generates a laser.
Wait, the cube generates a laser?
Yeah, look at it. I'm carrying it right now.
Again, I have no access to your stream.
Pew pew pew.
At best, I could try watching it on my phone, but again, my phone was like not having any of it.
Oh,
I
well.
guess the quality's too high. But
All right then. But I guess I take my word for it. Like pew 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 pew.
no word for it.
Pew pew pew. Well, because I feel like if I share my screen with you on Discord, it might ruin the stream even more.
Yeah. No, I get that. That's why I'm
Pew 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 pew.
Yeah, but never. Yeah, but usually only in my head.
Pew pew pew.
But yeah, so the studio that had the rights to the Mad Max IP decided that they also wanted to make a game, and because they had the rights to the Mad Max stuff, anything under the Mad Max title was free game for them. So they got a hold of all of like George Miller's ideas for the game, because he originally wanted to tie Fury Road, the original concept. Well, I guess the original concept for Fury Road is essentially the same thing as what was produced. Originally, when he first started coming out with the idea to make another Mad Max movie, he came up with I think it was like 3 different movies that he wanted to make for it. It was Mad Max Fury Road, which ended up becoming a movie. Furiosa, which also ended up becoming a movie. And then one titled The Wasteland. Though originally the Furiosa one was meant to be apparently a CGI anime.
Why?
Originally, because he directed Happy Feet, so he already had access to like CGI like technologies. So he wanted to do Furiosa as a CG movie, and I guess anime just kind of got attached to it. Another thing that I didn't know, George Miller, the guy that made Mad Max, is a fan of Fallout.
Oh, well, Edward.
No, you're not getting this. The people that made Fallout are fans of Mad Max. That's where they got that's kind of where they got the concept for Fallout. I didn't think George Miller knew what Fallout was, because he's an old guy. Like he was already kind of like, I think mid to late 30s, early 40s when Mad Max 1 came out, and that was in like 78, 79. So by the time Fallout came out in like 92, he was already kind of like what I would consider past the age of like computer games. But apparently he was a fan of Fallout. So the original idea that he had for a Mad Max game was originally going to be worked on by Interplay.
Oh.
Because Interplay was still alive and kicking at the time. Because it was in the 90s when they talked, when he was trying to like, I want to do another Mad Max movie, I want to get Mel Gibson involved. He originally wanted, I forget the actress's name.
I'm guessing that was before he and Mel Gibson made Passion of the Christ.
Probably, because I think Passion of the Christ was after the 2000s.
Yeah, it was actually the 2000s, and it was basically outed Mel Gibson to be a quote unquote closeted anti-Semite.
No, because then he went ahead and basically said it straight out that he was anti-Semite, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, it was before the 2000s, because I think Interplay folded around the 2000s originally. But so originally the whole concept for the game was that it was going to be a squad-based shooter with aspects of like vehicles and stuff. So basically, it was just going to be like Fallout or like Fallout Tactics, but with the Mad Max IP, which sounds kind of dope. So it was going to be isometric.
I mean, that aspect though, if they can, I don't know, polish the clunkiness of the teamwork aspect of the Fallout Tactics, then I wouldn't mind that. Have like each one be like an NPC with different stats. Max would be like I don't know a heroic unit.
They did polish those squad stats. It's Wasteland 3. Is actually a fairly polished. It's basically just Fallout Tactics, but better, but outside of the Fallout universe. It basically still uses all similar concepts.
Wait,
Fallout
is by Interplay?
Yes.
Wait,
It was originally by Interplay. Wasteland 1 was made by Interplay. It was their game before they made Fallout.
Wasteland 3.
Yeah. In fact, if you know anything about Fallout 1, there's a follower in Fallout 1 named Tycho, and he's a desert ranger. That's where the Desert Rangers came from originally, was their Wasteland game.
Oh, how much is it on Steam?
It's probably quite a bit because it's still relatively new, so I'd place it anywhere between.
Wait, relatively new, because when did Interplay become bankrupt?
I don't know, but this is still made by the people that made.
Oh, the people, developers and publishers in Exile Entertainment.
Yeah, it's actually like $40.
Neat.
It's a pretty decent game from what I've seen. It's also apparently easily moddable as well.
Add to wish list. So you easily modded to be like a Fallout 1.
Yeah, if you can find like models for characters and stuff, you can add it into the game.
Turn-based combat RPG.
I was watching a guy.
Does that guy have its own form of the isometric AP system that Fallout had?
I can't remember how the combat works in it. I know it's a turn-based squad thing. I don't know. I think they do. There's a little bar at the bottom.
All right, so because the only other tactics game I've been exposed to is Final Fantasy Tactics, and the game is on that what was it that alien turn-based combat one, where apparently where your enemies are made of obsidian, while your allies are made out of glass that can't shoot well. Like, oh, what's this? 98% to hit? Oh, missed.
No, that's when you get the mods to add in voice packs for your characters, and you can either have all of the super best friends doing voices in it, or you can get Al Chestbreach voice pack.
I saw a guy, right? It was back then when Overwatch was at its peak of popularity. So the guy who at times streamed Overwatch with his friends would do a little variety here or there, so he won't become stale. He downloaded packs for his units, and those are all Overwatch packs. So he downloaded like a voice packs for like D.Va, Soldier 76, and Genji, and he had the armor looks for Soldier 76 and Genji. And ironically speaking, though, he didn't make Genji into the melee build for XCOM 2. He made him the heavy gunner build. So he said that his backstory for that one is like it's Genji who killed Bastion and ripped off his gun. And what's kind of funny is that one of the fights, right? He made a little clip of it though, like on the Switch. One of the fights, he had Genji shoot someone at 90% accuracy, miss, go back behind his barricade and go, "I need healing." No, you don't.
No, he needs healing, like right now.
I need healing. I need healing.
But yeah, so it was gonna basically be just like Wasteland or like Fallout Tactics, but slightly better and actual vehicle stuff added to it. I guess Tactics also had vehicles. It's just I don't remember what vehicles were in that one. But no, wait, no, I do, because I watched a video of 2 guys playing that, or a whole bunch. Well, actually, it was like 3 guys playing it. They were using remote desktop so that they could all pick a character and play that character during their turns. And they had 2 of the NPCs on their squad get into a car and then drive over them, horribly maiming them.
Yeah, that won't work.
Um,
Alright, anti-gravity, cube you. Don't worry, Double D, I'll help unpack.
don't worry, Double D. I'll help him spit roast some people. What?
No, you heard me. You know dumb, right?
Double D pulls Ed's hands away from himself. No, I wholeheartedly agree with him. 1000%, Eddie. In some type of twisted, primal, tribal-esque instance, we need to start running. They're just like, oh shit, Double D, and he's like, what did you think those boys meant when they said Double D likes to double dip? And then he's like, I don't know.
Ow.
Made by two brothers that are insane, so I wasn't really sure what that meant. But yeah, so with George Miller, the guy that made the Mad Max franchise. He originally was going to make the fourth movie was originally supposed to star Mel Gibson and the lady that played Ripley in the movie Aliens. I always forget her actress's name. And they were originally supposed to like fall in love, and that last movie was supposed to be like him finally regaining that last bit of humanity that he lost. And from what I've been told and / read, he was originally going to, after that point, go back to where everything started, his hometown in Mad Max 1, to finally just kind of be part of society, which sounds like a pretty cool story. The problem is that it just didn't work out because every time they got something together, something terrible happened. So when they originally got a studio to back them, that was around the time.
This was supposed to be a game or a series?
It was going to be a movie.
Oh.
The original concept for Fury Road. What had happened was they got somebody on board with the idea. They got a studio on board with the idea, but at that time, the dollar had dropped significantly. The American dollar. And when the American dollar drops, a lot of times other countries' money is also kind of dropped. But because they were using an American studio, the cost of things was going to be a lot more expensive. So then, of course, because apparently it's just common knowledge for most people that like Mad Max that all Mad Max movies get made despite the fact that it always comes off as they're not going to get made. Because Mad Max 1 was made on a fucking shoestring budget. To the point where they didn't have permits to actually record on the roads that they were recording on. And they would illegally block traffic in order to get the shots they needed. And the whole reason why a lot of the times it feels very empty when they're recording, it's because they didn't have the money to go to locations and like get permits to have people, get off set so that they could shoot. So they had to shoot in abandoned buildings and like rural areas so that they could get their shots.
I mean, it works.
It does. It definitely works. The problem with that is that most people seem to think that Mad Max is a post-nuclear movie, and it's actually not. Mad Max 1 is actually starts off at like the precipice of like a societal breakdown, essentially, because the whole concept behind it was that Miller had written it right after like a weird, I forget if it was another Middle Eastern conflict in the early 70s or so, but there was like a thing where there was a war and like gas prices were going up, so he wrote that as kind of like the main idea of what was going on with Mad Max, was that it wasn't actually post-apocalypse or post-fall of society. It was just right at the edge. It was like just people were getting ready to just completely say fuck society and just bust out into like an apocalypse.
So the original intent was like, it's just there's still society, but it was beginning to collapse. But because the fact that they didn't have permits to actually use to use locales in city, and they use abandoned buildings, to be like, okay, now it's post-apocalyptic then. I mean,
well, no, not even just that. It was just that the buildings were run down because society was already kind of bottoming out at that point.
Next up, Deja Vu by Team X Agnes. Deja Vu.
That's the whole that was the whole thing with like the biker gang and stuff, because they end up getting like one of the guys from the biker gang, and then they have to release the guy because the criminal lawyers that came in were corrupt, and they were just like, no, this guy did nothing wrong and you can't detain him, it's illegal. And
at the time of this recording,
pretty much like society was already on like the bottom dollar at that point, so you had just like people trying to make as much money as they could prior to the collapse of it all. It's a really good movie. I like the fact that it's slowly become like my favorite Mad Max movie, because it's just
the first one.
It's as society is collapsing, but it's also like in like the 60s and 70s they had this type of genre of movie called for like grindhouse cinemas. It was the revenge movie. Pretty much it was a character that was, you know, kind of a good guy or a good person, and then they have something happen to them, and then they go, fuck this shit, I want revenge. And so the revenge genre movie, it's funny because it's like it does the whole beginning of the Mad Max movie just kind of builds up to like the last 30 minutes of it being a revenge
remains an important tool for science, even in a dire emergency.
And I love it. It's great because it starts off with just Max being this like really good like police officer in a world where gangs are pretty much taking to the streets, and people are just trying to get by. And then, you know, spoilers for like a fucking 40 to almost 50-year-old movie. But he kind of has this issue where pretty much all the cops are doing is trying to stop people that are going crazy on the road. They're pretty much most of the gangs and stuff out there are basically just Fallout psychos who are just like, I'm not gonna survive in this world because I'm doing things this way, and it's much easier to just resort to crime. It's literally just Miller took like the slippery slope fallacy of what happens when shit starts getting bad, and just went, this is their world. Their world is just built on this slope, and it's just gonna get worse from here. And so that's just kind of what it is. It's just an underfunded police force with a bunch of cars that are basically held together with you know, well wishes and dreams, and like what I can only assume is either a on the spectrum mechanic, or he's just like he's kind of like a druggie or something. He's got like there's something with him that he's just kind of like a weird goofball, but he's the guy that actually puts the iconic V8 Interceptor together. And the whole thing is that the reason that they're doing it is because Max apparently wants off the force, because Max's whole like struggle in the movie isn't that, you know, it's them and their police force versus these fucking crazy psycho road raiders. It's he begins to realize that he lives for it, because when they introduce you to him in the movie, he's literally at the beginning just the best person on their squad. They show two other guys, and it's like they're supposed to be catching this dude called the Knight Rider, and because he escaped police custody.
The Knight Rider.
Yeah,
Night Boat. Night Boat.
Oh, Night Boat. It's fucking great. It's funny because the Knight Rider's just this like, he's this cocky asshole that's like on there because he steals a squad car when he escapes. It's him and his girlfriend. I think his girlfriend breaks him out. They don't really like show you what happens. It kind of starts off with like an end of the movie style police chase. And he's stolen an Interceptor, like almost like the one that Max has. I think it's actually the car that he stole is what they Frankenstein together to give you the iconic Mad Max V8 Interceptor. It's him and his girlfriend, and they've stolen this cop car, and they're like driving, and he's like taunting the cops over the radio. He's like, "You're never gonna catch me. I'm the fucking Knight Rider. You look to the sky and you will remember me." He's got this like weird, psychotic, like overly cocky, like I am him. I am the man. You guys are not gonna take me down. And then it shows you the rest of the police force, and they're kind of like, they're not bumbling, but they're just not on Max's level. It's these two guys, and one of them has got like a scoped rifle, and he's watching these two people just have sex in a field. And then his buddy like flips the siren because they get a call in that the Knight Rider's taking off down this road that they're near, and they need everybody on hand. And it like scares them off, and they get in their car and they're like driving, and they're like chasing him, and they've got another group of people that are driving, and fucking they're trying to like pincer maneuver the fucking Knight Rider. Max is listening to it while he's working on his own regular police car, and then they get, oh my god, my favorite character, Jimmy the Goose. Because his name is like Jim Gosling or something, so his nickname's the Goose. And he's like Max's best friend in the movie. And he basically, he's like a man of the people. He's basically like the Flash, but with less, I wouldn't say less morals, but he's like a few steps behind what you would consider a good Flash-based character to be. Like he's like a down-to-earth kind of guy, because when they show him, he's in a diner on the side of the road eating some food and telling us this what looks to be a farmer about a situation they had on the force where a guy basically went through the windshield. And the original concept, I guess, was supposed to be that was the story of how Max's previous partner died, but they kind of scrapped that. It's in a deleted scene, I guess, or something like that. But he sees the Knight Rider go by. He's like, oh shit! So he gets on his motorcycle. So you just got like a bunch of people chasing this guy, and he's just putting, he's putting the gas to him. He's just like, fuck you, you can't catch me. I'm too crazy. And then you get Max, and he puts his glasses on. And he drives off. He gets ahead of the guy, and he plays chicken with the guy. And up to this point, the Knight Rider has been cocky as shit because none of the police are willing to touch this guy properly. They tried to, the guy that was watching two people have sex tried to take them down with a sawn-off as they came up to pincer him, and he just hit the brakes, and the dudes just like fucking skidded and trashed their car essentially. And then you get Max, and he's like driving straight for this Knight Rider guy, and the Knight Rider guy's like, oh boy, we're gonna play chicken, fuck this guy. And right as they're getting up to it, the Knight Rider swerves to avoid him, and that just puts him on the, that like throws his entire world view out the fucking window, because Max is on his ass. And then he starts crying. He's like, no!
He starts, wait, no, he just starts crying?
Yes, he just starts breaking down, because not only does he see that Max did not chicken out, like all the other cops, Max also fucking power slide donuts and catches up to him in a moment's notice. Like, he's like, shit, this guy's the real fucking deal. He's a competent member of their police force.
So
we're going to jail again.
So to quote a certain on a group of YouTubers that has 4 stars in their title, like, well, so then out of nowhere he just starts crying. Whoa, like a bitch.
Yes. And so pretty much what happens is Max chases them, and they kind of meet their end accidentally because they somebody on like the side of the road or whatever kind of gets in their way. They get in a car accident, they die. This kind of sets the rest of the movie into motion, because it's very clear that the police force is handling more than they can chew, so they kind of get leeway with what they can and can't do. And it kind of shows off that Max is not just good at his job, but he enjoys doing what he does. And that's where Max's conflict comes in. Because he doesn't want to be another one of those people that looks at the pavement and just kind of loses their shit. He doesn't want to become a psycho, essentially, on the road. So he occasionally tries to, like, turn in his resignation on the force. And they kind of always just talk him back into being on the force because he's their top guy. I
don't know. It kind of reminds me of to go off tangent. Not off tangent. It kind of reminds me of the movie Hot Fuzz, where like remember the guy one working like in the capital city to like the rural states because he's too good, and so like he's making the other officers look bad, so he had to get rid of him. And then like at the end of the movie, they realized their mistake, that their actual officers were actually inept. They're like, no, please come back. There's more crime now. Like, nah. I'm gonna stay here now, and have a healthy life.
Yeah, it's pretty much like that to a degree. But they, so they always end up talking him back into it, apparently. But the thing that I love about it is that they don't immediately tell you this. they show you his skills, and then later on you find out that he's tried to turn in his resignation a few times. But he does it because he has a wife and kid at home. He has a baby, not just a kid, a baby. And the baby's name is Sprog, which is Australian slang for baby. I mean, it's
The name or just a nickname?
They've never called him anything else in the movie but Sprog. So that's up to the viewer, I guess, to determine whether or not that's his actual name. But aside from that conflict, you also get the conflict from the main motorcycle raider gang, which is a bunch of these weird psychos on fucking Kawasaki motorcycles, led by a man named Toe Cutter. Which, fun fact, the guy that played Toe Cutter, who's passed away, I think like 5 years ago or something, he's actually the guy that plays Immortan Joe in Mad Max Fury Road.
What? So same guy?
Yeah, it's the same actor.
Oh.
Different characters, same actor. They do the same thing in Mad Max 2 because they have this guy called the Gyro Captain.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Mad Max 3, they've got a similar guy. They've got a similar character who's played by the same actor that played the Gyro Captain. But he's got a name. He's a completely different character. He just looks exactly like the Gyro Captain and also happens to be a pilot. But George Miller very clearly states that they're two separate guys. So a lot of people like to joke around and say that that's actually the Gyro Captain's brother, which becomes even sadder in Fury Road because there's a skull on the car that Max is tied up to in Fury Road that has a similar looking cap and goggles to the Gyro Captain. So a lot of people think that that means that the Gyro Captain died and that his skull is on top of that dude's car. But what happens is Max kind of has this little moment where he's like kind of talking to his wife, and you know he's got this stuff, and they show all this other stuff, and the guy that leads the motorcycle gang, Toe Cutter, him and his boys roll up into a town because they're waiting for a train. They're waiting on a train because Knight Rider was supposed to meet back up with them after he breaks out of custody. So they get to this small town, and the guy that runs the train station is like, "We've only had one train and there was no passengers," and they're like, "What do you mean?" And he leads them up there, and he's like, "There's your buddy," and it's just a casket. And he's like, "I mean, what's left of him? I mean, like is in that box." So they just kind of go on a fucking rampage. They're like, "We're gonna fuck with these cops. We need to figure out who did it." And because it's an on the verge of collapse society. They still have TV shows and stuff. Max is named on the news as the guy that as the guy that stopped the Knight Rider, so he's kind of public enemy number one with Toe Cutter and his gang. But they don't really like cross paths with him at the moment. One of their buddies, Johnny the Boy, as he's referred to, he's one of their like lower level like gang member guys, and that it's heavily implied that he's also like Toe Cutter's main squeeze essentially. Like they fuck.
Johnny the Boy?
Yeah, Johnny the Boy. He's a young dude, curly hair, shoots his mouth off too much. He's also an opportunistic because later on in the movie he finds a I don't know if he caused the car crash, but it's him coming across a dead body more or less and just kind of stealing the boots off the guy. But I'm not really sure if it was meant to imply that he caused the crash and then was stealing the guy's boots, or if he actually came across the crash and was stealing the guy's boots. But the gang ends up going after a couple because they end up staying in the town where the train was supposed to meet, and they just kind of run roughshod over the town for a while, and they attack and sexually assault a couple that had the car, and then Jimmy the Goose and Max end up coming across because Jimmy the Goose ends up injuring his leg in the chase with the Knight Rider, so he just kind of like joyrides with Max when they're on patrol, and they come across the scene, and it's Johnny the Boy kind of was left there to be chained up to the girl, while the guy that they assaulted runs off into a field pantsless. And I love the line that they do is because it's Johnny rolls up and he gets on Max's megaphone, and he's like, "Hey buddy, what happened? What's going on?" The guy's like, "Huh?" And he's like, "Stop running. what are you doing? And he's running around with, he's running further into a field with no pants on. And he just leans over to Max, he goes, that guy's a fucking turkey. And then he gets on the megaphone, he goes, hey buddy, you're some kind of fucking turkey. Like, he's just hassling this guy. They come across the girl, and Jimmy the Goose kind of takes offense to it because he's kind of like this ladies' man, but he's a ladies' man with like a sense of honor, essentially. So he's not a big fan of the fact that Johnny the Boy and his boys basically assaulted these couple for like no reason. But they end up taking Johnny the Boy, who's like delirious. I don't know if was like on drugs or something at the time, or if that's just how he always is, just out of his fucking gourd. But they end up arresting him, and saving, and kind of like, you know, letting the girl go. And they've got him in like the police station, and Jimmy just wants to basically just crucify him himself, to be honest. But the commissioner of their little police force, who's a very intimidating looking man who kind of looks like he could be the like an out of shape version of General Armstrong from Full Metal Alchemist. His name's Fifi, so it's kind of implied that he's definitely not straight to some degree. I might be. Did it lock me out?
Hmm?
Okay, good. I was worried that it had locked me out for a second. I was like, I haven't heard him say anything.
I'm concentrating because I'm trying to see like what on how to solve this chamber, because I feel like I'm missing something.
But yeah, so they it's kind of heavily implied that their tough looking boss guy is not, at the very least, straight from a partner picking standpoint. They don't really go into it. They don't really dive into like his history or anything, but it's like the set dressing kind of is what it would look like if, you know, if you went into the 1970s and that's what 1970s people would think a gay person is. Because he does have like a garden, like not a garden, but he has like hanging like flower plants that he's shown like taking care of and watering in his office and stuff like that. And he usually has like that like really like flowy like satin ascot type thing going on, but he's also this big dude that smokes cigars, so it's kind of like a really cool character concept. I don't know why I like it as much as I do, but I like the fact that it's kind of like it teeters on what it is without telling you what it is. So two people can watch this movie and be like, that guy's really manly, or they can go, that guy represents the LGBTQ community, and nobody is proven right on either end. And I like it. It's ambiguous. I love his character. He's a really cool character, especially later on when I'll get to that part.
So like he's equal parts brutal, but also kind of fey.
He's equal parts manly, equal parts fey. It's a really like ahead of its time concept for a character, and I love it.
Oh wow.
So him, Max, and these two guys end up showing up, and it turns out that one of them is like essentially the liaison for all the like the road patrol cop guys, and the other one is like a lawyer, and they're like, you have to release Johnny the Boy, and Jimmy Goose is having none of it. He's like, no, dude, this guy did shit, like we need to like persecute this guy, okay, because he was there. We found him at the scene of the crime. They did this thing, and they're like, we can't do anything. We set up the court date came and went. The biker gang didn't show up. The victims didn't show up. The townspeople didn't show up. There's no case. There's no contest. We gotta let him go.
I don't know why. Should we say Goose? I keep reminded of the old Top Gun. Like, you're my eyes, Goose.
Talk to me, Goose. Yeah, like that. And so so they have Max and Fifi have to basically like pull a crippled man away from Johnny the Boy.
Edward. Oh, there he goes again. Alright, he'll be back, folks, and Discord really hates him for some reason. Alright, so how do I solve this? Anti-gravity, death water, buttons, where's the buttons? I love the layouts of the lights. What does it do? Oh, that's what that does. Okay. Oh, okay, I see one now. Nope. Woo! Ah, there that goes. I might have missed his message him. But you know, he could stop his that little tiny tirade. All right, so
Where did I cut off at?
I forgot. Oh, nope, nope. There we go. Damn it.
Pretty much there was okay. So pretty much, long story short, there's a fight in the parking lot between Goose and Johnny.
Oh,
Johnny
I think it's like an blah blah blah, like a not here. There's no case. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, Johnny basically gives him like this whole spiel of like, we're gonna pay you back for what you guys did to the Knight Rider and this and that. So the commissioner Fifi ends up getting the liaison for the police forces and the lawyer into their car to leave, and then he watches as like fucking I think his name was Bubba, that toe cutter sent to go pick up Johnny the boy. He's like an evil version of Goose. He's basically just the blonde pretty boy with the iconic leather biker jacket, but their personalities are different because Bubba's like a fucking psychopath and super serious, and Goose is usually lighthearted, except for in this instance where they were like, we can't hold him because we got no case. And so Johnny pretty much is just like being dragged by Bubba, and he's like, we're gonna get you guys and this and that. You guys are gonna pay for what you did to the Knight Rider and this and that. Look at this, look up at the sky and you'll remember his name. I'm like, these guys are fucking off their goddamn gourd. And then Fifi's just kind of staring them down as they watch, and he goes, I don't care what you guys do out there as long as the paperwork is clean. I'm like, he just gave them a fucking clear path to go sociopath on these motherfuckers. I love it. He's just like, boys, police brutality protocol. These motherfuckers, if you find them out there doing shit, don't let them live. Because the judicial system isn't going to help us out. So as long as the paperwork is clean, I don't give a fuck what you do out there. And I'm like, yes, I fucking love Fifi. He's the greatest character ever in this, aside from Goose. So eventually what happens is Goose ends up going to like a cabaret after his leg heals up, and Max wants to get off the fucking force still. He's still kind of like giving them the whole like spiel, but they basically, what happens is one of the other, I don't know if it's the same liaison that was with them with the lawyer or not, but he basically is like, Fifi, I don't care what you gotta do, you need to keep Max on the force. And so they set up this idea where they're gonna give him the V8 Interceptor as his patrol car, which has been souped up since the Knight Rider took it for a joyride. So now it's got the classic like big huge V8 like air intake manifold that sucks nitrous. And it kind of gets them. They're like, fuck, we got him, boys. So Jimmy the Goose. I'm just gonna keep calling him Goose. He goes out to a cabaret.
You're my Goose.
You're one of my few anchors to not going sociopathic, Goose. They end up he ends up at a cabaret, and he's watching this lady, and she thinks he's hot, so they end up having a one-night stand. He takes off after that, gets on his motorcycle, and is like doing all the classic like I ride a motorcycle type shit. So he's like, you know, he pulls out without stopping, he guns it down you know, roads at like 80 miles an hour. But what had happened the night before was that Johnny the boy did something to his motorcycle. I'm not sure what it is, because it seems like if it had done something, it should have happened immediately when he started driving, but it didn't. But it looks like something happens with either the chain that runs to the back of the motorcycle, or like
That jumpsuit you're wearing
something with
looks
his brakes or
stupid.
something, because
That's not
he's
me
driving
talking.
along, he's perfectly
It's
fine,
right
and then
here,
all of a
right here in
sudden
your
his
file.
bike just kind of like
On other people,
stops
it looks
so
fine.
suddenly that he
But right
it
here, a
flips
scientist
off
has
his
noted
motorcycle.
that on you it looks
And he ends up
stupid.
in a field.
Well, what does a
full of
neck-bearded old
dry brush.
engineer know about fashion?
And he tries to like
He probably...
radio in that he
Oh,
needs help, but his
wait,
radio's been
it's a
his
she.
like mouthpiece
Still,
has been
what does she
severed from
know?
the bike.
Oh wait, it's
And he ends up like falling down in the dry grass, and then Toe Cutter forces Johnny the boy to essentially light him on fire. So then of course you jump cut to a hospital, and you've got Fifi trying to stop Max from going in because Max and Goose are best friends. He's like, you don't want to see him, boy, and Max is like, no, fuck you, I gotta see what happened to him. And he goes in there, and the burns are so bad that when Max pulls the sheet up, because he's on like a fucking machine to breathe, he's on life support, he picks it up. They don't show you what Johnny looks like, but it's so bad that it shakes Max to the core, to the point where the next day he goes to turn in his resignation, and Fifi's like, again, Max? And he's like, no, this time I'm serious. I don't want to be out there. And he's like, the world needs heroes, Max. We need to bring back heroes. People need heroes. And he's like, I'm not doing it. Okay? I don't want to become one of them. I don't want to go out there and fucking light people on fire. And he's like, I enjoy the chase too much. I don't want to be one of these road psychos. And he looks at him and he goes,
You mentioned like in movie 1 is like the edge of like a societal collapse, but the fact that in movie 2 they're literally wearing car parts, fighting for gasoline, and movie 3, he doesn't even have enough gasoline in his car anymore, and they're just fuels fighting some sort of giant, a midget riding a giant in this dome in this town literally made of like steel and mud and cement. Like, so did all technology just break down after a while?
okay, so what happened was, between movie 1 and 2, society does end up collapsing, but it's mostly because in order to get away from like the raider gangs and stuff, they all drive into the Australian outback. I think that's the part that people forget, is that Australia is like 90 to like 95% desert.
Oh, okay. So they avoided like cities like Sydney.
Mm-hmm. They pretty much go out into the wilds and take whatever they can. That's where their kind of apocalypse type shit kind of happened. They basically avoid all the cities and just end up going into the outback. With 3, it's implied that something happened. There was either another war that finally set the world over the edge, or some nuclear reactors went out, because Max does end up coming across a water salesman whose water is super heavily irradiated. Which is, I think, where most people get the idea that Mad Max 2 takes place after the bombs fell, but that's not the case.
So
Literally, it just takes place in the outback.
So I'm guessing at either like late 2 or at 3 is when he started taking a little bit of inspirations from Fallout.
Probably. Well, no, because Mad Max 3 came out in the 80s, so they didn't even, like, I don't think Fallout was a thing at that point. But I know for a fact that, like, in the 80s there was still that like Cold War scare with the Reds and like the, you know, like 2 minutes to midnight and fucking fingers on the bombs and shit like that, like the buttons for the bombs.
2
That's probably what
minutes
inspired it.
to lunchtime.
Yes. On my classic album. But yeah, so Fifi ends up telling me, he's like, look, how about this? I give you some vacation time. You and your family, you know, go out into the even less rural areas than we're at now. I would have loved if somebody had made a parody of this and they broke the fourth wall and was like, because we don't have enough money to actually show you in the city, you're gonna have to go even more rural than we already are, man. But he's just like, just go on vacation, you know, relax, and when you come back, if you still feel like you don't want to go be on the force, I'll let you go. And so Max takes him up on it. He packs his wife and his kid up in their little, like, they've got like a little I don't know what to call it. It's not really like what I would consider a ute, but it looks like a station wagon combined with like a truck, essentially. Like a
Oh, let me guess. And since I already know how this goes, and the family goes away, and he's like, "Nope, I'm done. Bye."
No. What happens is during their trip, they end up sort of crossing paths. What happens is the town that they're driving through is a town that's been picked up as like the hangout spot for the bikers, because the town has a mechanic, and they bring their bikes there to have them looked at and checked up on and stuff. So his wife splits up. He's trying to get tires from the mechanic because their tires are looking kind of ratty, and he's got decent tires. So he's like talking to the guys like, yeah, I want some tires. And so his wife goes to get food because the place that they're going to, it's basically like a cabin retreat, essentially, out in the middle of nowhere. So they have to buy their own food and stock the fridge. So her and the baby end up going to get food from like a store. And Toe Cutter's boys kind of see her, and they're like, oh boy, time to go mess with a chick. So they're like messing with them, and like Toe Cutter's like doing the weird like, I'm a psycho, but I'm obviously being very, I'm trying to be helpful towards you to let your guard down so I can fuck with you. So he's like messing with her. He's like, basically telling her that she's got a cute kid. She goes to put the kid in the back of the truck because that's just where they put the baby, which if that had been not in a movie, that baby would have probably rolled over and like crushed its soft spot the way they drive in the movie. Which is why I don't understand why they didn't just have the baby on its stomach, because that's the most stable position for a baby. Because even if they were like whipping around at like speeds to get away from these people, as long as the baby's on its stomach, its center of mass is going to keep it from sliding too much to a degree, especially considering that there's like a shag carpet like bottom on the back of that truck. But he opens the back of the truck first, she puts the baby in. She goes to get into the driver's side. Toe Cutter runs over and like opens the door for her, and is like being like super like he's like trying to get her off her guard, and she's got like an ice cream that she was eating, and he like implies that he wants to have a taste of the ice cream. So she kind of like, without saying anything, laments and lets him take a lick of the ice cream. And while it seems like she's also kind of like on his side about him being friendly, she ends up kneeing him in the balls and then smashing the ice cream cone in his face and driving off. She gets back to Max. They end up driving off to get away from the bikers. The bikers slowly pour into where the mechanic was, and he's like, where the hell, who are they? And he's like, I don't know, some couple. And it was just like, where are they going? And like, I don't know, they mentioned something about going up north or something probably. So they were like, okay, now we're definitely gonna fuck with these people. So they get to the cabin. Max is doing his thing where he works
I'm going
on the
to be
car.
honest with you
For
now.
some reason, they
Not
leave the
fake
baby on a
honest
blanket.
like
I mean, I guess
before,
it's the
but
70s
real
and
honest,
Australia,
like you're
and
incapable
this was
of.
before
I'm here.
the dingo ate my baby became a thing. So they basically, they've got the baby on the thing. They just kind of assume that they can keep an eye on the baby. They're perfectly fine. The wife's like, I'm gonna go down to the beach with the dog that they bought in like this little montage as they're going out there. So they have like a, it looks kind of like a King Charles, but it's definitely not a King Charles. It's very foofy looking dog, but it's like a mid-sized foofy looking dog. So her and the dog go down to the beach, and I'm
Like
saying,
how fluffy? Like a Japanese Shiba Inu fluffy?
no, when I say foofy, I mean it's like a curly-haired, like not like a terrier curly, but like almost like a poodleish type of dog with curls. But she ends up going down to the beach with the dog. I don't know why she didn't take the baby, but the lady that runs that basically rented them the cabin also kind of lives in the same area, and she's like, be careful of so and so, he's just a big baby, because she's got like a mentally handicapped son who's like the basic trope, the gentle giant, kind of like mentally handicapped. Which the reason I bring it up is because it'll come into play later, but not too much like you would expect. But so she decides to just leave the baby. Max isn't paying attention to the baby. She goes down to the beach. The dog kind of notices something, but doesn't really dwell on it too much. And then while she's laying on the beach, the dog runs off. And she's like, where's the dog? Okay, I guess I'll just go home and I'll, me and Max will look for the dog. She ends up going into the woods where she feels like she's being watched. And then she comes across the dog gutted and hanged from a tree. And I'm like, I see Toe Cutter. I was kind of on your side about shit till you decided to murder a dog for no reason other than be creepy. So she books it through the woods, runs into the mentally handicapped giant guy, and thinks that he's the one that did it. So she freaks out and starts running. Max hears her screaming and gets his double barrel. And him and the old woman start running up, and his wife's like having problems, and the old lady's like, so-and-so, bad boy, what did I tell you about scaring people? And then she kind of, tells Max that she thinks the bikers are following them. And so he hands her off to the old lady to, take her into the house. And then he goes off to go try and find the bikers himself with his double-barrel shotgun and basically his relaxation clothes. As they're there, and the old lady's going to call the cops for that area. The Max's wife realizes that the baby's not there, and I'm sitting there like, this is why this could not be set in today's times, because you would be very worried about where your baby is at all times.
Yeah.
But she freaks out, so she goes off to try and find out where the kid's at, and comes across the bikers with the kid. And she's like freaking out. And I forgot to mention, one of the bikers, while she's driving off after she knees Toe Cutter in the balls, goes to try and like swing a chain at the car, and it wrapped around their little station wagon like luggage rack, and apparently pulled his arm off because of the way the chain was wrapped. So they end up finding his hand on the back of it after they get to the cabin, and they call the cops out, and this guy that kind of looks like the dude that did the special effects for Evil Dead comes out with a leather jacket that looks like Max's. So I'm pretty sure that the police force that they have is just kind of like this like on the edge police force. But Toe Cutter's like, we'll give you back the baby once you give my buddy's hand back. And she's like freaking out, and the old lady comes up with this like super, I think it might have been like a double barrel elephant gun, because it's definitely a lot bigger than Max's double barrel shotgun, and a lot more deadly sounding when she fires it. But she's like, you, all of you, don't make any funny moves, essentially. And the gang's like, you're not gonna do anything. And the lady fires a shot really close to one of the guys, pierces a barrel with the shotgun blast. And they're like, oh shit, she ain't fucking playing around. And she's like, all you, hands where I can see them. You put the fucking baby down and get in that little, like, it's basically like a garage off to the side. And she kind of locks them in from the outside, and she tells the lady to take her baby and run. So she takes her baby, gets in the car, starts the car. The old lady gets in the car. They start driving. The guys kick their way out of the fucking thing, get on their motorcycles, and start chasing them. The car breaks down because Max was working on the car originally before they decided to drive it out, so he didn't get everything into order. The old lady tells them to run and does the most badass thing I've ever done, where she basically Breaking Bad's it, where Walter's in the middle of the road. And she brings her shotgun up and fires at them. Doesn't hit them, but it's the most badass thing I've ever seen an old lady in a fucking movie do. They drive around her, and she's like, fuck. Because she knows they're gonna fucking do something to the lady. And they end up just running over her at like high speeds on their Kawasaki's. And they basically kill Max's wife and the baby. So Max gets up there and he has that like, no moment, and there's like a scene in the hospital where they point out that she's basically a fucking vegetable, but they want to tell Max not to, that she's gonna be fine, but he's at the door listening into this. So finally his last tether to like humanity is gone. He's lost his buddy, he's lost his baby, and he's lost his wife. So he's kind of sitting outside of his house, just kind of thinking back on everything that happens, and he has this moment where he's like, you know what, fuck it. And he walks in, pulls out his patrol uniform, goes to the police lockup, grabs the V8 without telling anybody, and just takes off. And he's finally done. It's finally become that revenge movie that it's meant to be. And so he's kind of watching the bikers as they're driving around. They kind of really still don't know that the guy that killed Knight Rider is the guy that they kind of took down the baby.
So basically, at that point, it's like the accidentally pull a John Wick.
Yes. And so what happens is he starts following them around, and there's a scene where they're driving across this really narrow bridge. And he drives past them like, what the fuck is wrong with that guy? Whatever, fuck that guy, man. If we come across him again, we're gonna fuck him up. So it's not like the full-on biker gang, it's like a small section of the biker gang, but they're driving, and he hits the fucking nitrous on this shit, man. He just throws the V8 into high gear, chickens them on this bridge, and just knocks all of them off the fucking bridge. Like, 2 of them are in the drink. The other 2 fall off their motorcycles, and the funny thing is, there's in this scene, one of the dudes falls off his motorcycle, and then the other guy's motorcycle the front tire ends up beaning him in the back of the helmet, like, really hard. And that wasn't a stunt. That happened by accident. That man got injured during that show. But it looked amazing when he got injured. Because he basically got injured. So then, of course, all that's kind of really left in the gang is Johnny the Boy, Evil Goose, as I'm gonna call him.
Evil Goose.
Toe Cutter. Yeah, he's the blonde pretty boy that Toe Cutter sent to go get Johnny the Boy after Johnny the Boy got arrested.
Oh.
He's literally just like, the only real difference is that their facial features are just slightly different, and that his hair is basically looks like he wet his hair and then matted it down, whereas Johnny the Goose's is more like slicked back essentially. Like it's not like full slick back. It's kind of like the spiky kind of slick back, where it's slick back but the ends are kind of sticking up. It's more messy hair than anything. But they're basically like, they're both blonde pretty boys that are known for wearing leather jackets and ride motorcycles. He's basically just the Evil Goose.
It is I, Evil Goose.
So the Toe Cutter and Evil Goose are kind of getting on their motorcycles. And as Toe Cutter goes to put his helmet on, these 2 pictures fall out. And one of them is Max's wife and his baby, and the other one is Max. And that's kind of when Toe Cutter puts 2 and 2 together. He's like, wait a minute, that lady we run down might be married to this cop guy. Well, shit. So then, of course, Max kind of sees them riding off, and he's kind of like following them. They manage to get ahead because they're on motorcycles. They can get around this truck that's like transporting like a tractor or some shit. So they get ahead of him. And he notices that one of the bikers is like in the field, like off their motorcycle. So he thinks maybe they might have injured themselves. And so he grabs his double barrel and starts slowly approaching him. Evil Goose snipes Max in the fucking kneecap. So if you've ever wondered why in The Road Warrior, why Max has kind of a limp and a leg brace on, it's because they basically obliterated his kneecap in this movie. And so they drive up on him, and he's like in the middle of the road. He's like trying to reach for his shotgun, and they run over his arm in the middle of the road. And Toe Cutter's like, be careful with this one. And Evil Goose is like, I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh, you fucking don't, bro. Like, this man's on demon time. This man has literally nothing left to lose at this point, because he was gonna leave the force anyways. You killed his wife and his son. You killed his best friend. He's got nothing else. All he's got is his uniform, his shotgun, a revolver, which I don't think he ever fucking uses, and the V8 Interceptor. That's all he has now. Like, sure, he has a house that he could go back to, but he basically trashed that in a fit of rage. So, which they also don't show you. It just kind of looks like it's trashed. So I assume he just kind of trashed it. I mean, I would too if my wife and kid were run down like common, wild animals by a bunch of assholes. But especially on Kawasaki's, like, that's the worst type of motorcycle in my opinion. Like, it could have been Harley Davidson's. I mean, I guess it couldn't, because Harley Davidson's are more for cruising than they are for speed. Like, I guess Kawasaki's kind of makes sense for speed, but so he starts riding up on him like he's gonna fucking run Max over. And Max manages to slowly get his shotgun, and as the guy comes up, he just shoots him with the shotgun. The guy veers off and dies. And I'm like, good work, Evil Goose. You really underestimated this man. The real Goose wouldn't have underestimated Max. He knew Max was the best of the best.
I don't know why, but that oozes off like, nah, I win energy.
Yeah. He's like, nah, I'd win, and then gets shot in the fucking chest with a shotgun and falls off his motorcycle and dies. Like, they literally have a bird on top of the guy in the background, just kind of, essentially just picking at the guy. I don't know how they did it. I don't know if they knew a guy that had a bird or whatever, because they literally, everybody they get is just, we'll pay you in beers. And they're like, all right, cool. Because there's a scene where Max is kind of following the bikers, and they jump a fuel truck and start siphoning fuel out of it. And there's a scene where it passes by this little, like, light sheer cliff where there's a pole on it, and the guy, one of the guys on the gang pole vaults from that hill onto the back of the truck. It's a really cool shot. The thing is, nobody told him to do that. He did that on his own. He didn't have a stunt double. He literally went, this would be really cool if I did this. Let's fucking do this. And they did it. And so Toe Cutter's like, fuck. So he watches, he takes off. He's like, I'm not gonna let Max get to me. I'm not gonna fucking underestimate this guy. I'm just gonna take off. I'll attack him at a more convenient time. Johnny the boy sees Evil Goose get his goose cooked, and it's just like, well, fuck that, I'm off too. He can't catch both of us, and he's so injured. He's got a bad arm, a bad leg, and all he's got left is his car. So he hobbles to his car, gets in his car, and uses the souped up fucking engine to try and run down Toe Cutter. And Toe Cutter's like, well, fuck, man, this is not going the way I wanted it. This man has basically killed a 30-man biker gang by himself.
Like, maybe I shouldn't have messed with him.
Yes. But the best part comes up because there's two scenes in the movie that use this image of, like, practical effects, like fake face, eyes bulging scene. One of them is for the Knight Rider right before he collides with a thing. And these eyes bug out. The other time is Toe Cutter, because he's so busy looking at what Max is doing, and Max is kind of like throwing him off his gang. He did not see this big rig coming up, and hits this big rig and gets taken under it. It's funny because they use the same eye bugging, like,
ow,
it's zoomed in, so all you really see is like the occipital area of the face, the bridge of the nose, and the eyeballs, and they bug out. And then he gets sucked under this truck. The fun fact about this truck is that the truck driver that they got, because he's not getting paid, they were like, do you think you can run this guy's bike over? And he went, yes, but I don't want the front of my truck getting fucked up. So they're like, cool, let's put this metal thing, this metal faceplate on your truck and paint it to look like the front of your truck. And so they basically, in movie shooting, they basically run a dummy and a motorcycle into this truck at full speed. The motorcycle goes under the big rig, and as well as the dummy. It basically runs over the Kawasaki, destroying it, because it basically goes under all one side of the wheel. And so in the story, that's the end of Toe Cutter. Max has killed the man that is essentially the ringleader for this shit. He's only got one guy, Johnny the boy. He starts looking for Johnny the boy. And he starts having this like weird thing where it's kind of like, it's sort of implied to be a montage where it's like, you don't know how many days have gone by while he's looking for Johnny the boy. And it's meant to be that way. It's meant to be like Max has finally like lost it, and that his one goal now is to find the last man that was integral for killing his friend and his wife and child and making him pay. So he ends up driving up on this scene where this truck has been flipped over. Johnny the boy is dragging a dead body off of the side of the road, pulling his own boots off and trying to put the man's boots on. Max sneaks up on him, double barrel to the back of his head, basically, just kind of holding it there. Injured as all holy get out. And Johnny the boy's like, nah, man, it ain't what it looks like. This guy was already dead when I came across him. He's like, I don't fucking care. He pulls out a set of handcuffs, tosses them to him, and goes, put those on your ankle. And so he puts one side to his ankle, and he's like, look, man, it's not what it looks like, man. I'll go in, but I didn't kill this guy. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. And Max grabs the other part of the handcuff that's not attached to anything and starts dragging him by the ankle to the flipped over truck. He attaches it to the truck, and Johnny the Boy's like pleading for his life. Max pulls this like little pouch off of Johnny the Boy's neck, and it's a pouch that had Goose's lighter in it. And he goes over to where this gas is leaking from the truck, and he sets up this little broken headlight to catch the gasoline that's coming out of it. And the lighter apparently is like one of those ones where if you push the button down, it stays lit until you push the button again. And he sets it down near the grass, and Johnny the Boy's trying to plead his case. He's like, you're not gonna kill me. This isn't what you guys do, and blah blah blah, and this and that. It's not gonna bring your friend back if you kill me. And so he's got the gasoline leaking into the broken headlight to a way that it's gonna tip over. He's got the lighter underneath that. He walks over to Johnny the Boy, and he throws him a hacksaw. And he looks at him and he goes, "Those handcuffs are reinforced steel. With this hacksaw, you can probably get through them in about 10 minutes or so. But you might be able to get out of there in 5 if you hack through your own ankle." And he's like, "What? What?" And then Max just walks off, and he's like, "What? No, you can't do this. You're mad, man. You're mad. You're insane." And the best part about this is that I found out that the guys that made the Saw movies went on record as saying that was one of the inspirations to make the Saw movie. That's why the intro scene to Saw is the hacksaw scene. They got the inspiration for it from Mad Max.
Jeez, Mad Max is like the precursor for like all these genres.
He's the dude. The Mad Max movie, the first Mad Max movie, is a fucking legend, and it saddens me that most people only really know Mad Max for The Road Warrior, because Mad Max 1 was a really good movie.
They basically known for 2 things, and the old Mad Max. They only know old Mad Max for 2 things: The Road Warrior and the series like Just Walk Away, and other one is like Who Runs Bartertown. That's all that you don't know Mad Max of, and also the Interceptor.
Yeah.
And
Mad Max 1 was a fucking ride of a movie.
And of course, the new generation of Mad Max fans, all they know of is freaking like "Witness Me," and of course Furiosa, being being like everyone's on a tomboy wet dream.
To be honest, thinking back on it, I would actually place Fury Road higher than Thunderdome. Not a big fan of Thunderdome.
Is because the fact that you didn't like the whole like
I don't know, it doesn't catch my attention like the other movies. I think the main problem with it is that originally what George Miller was going to do was a Lost Boys style movie. That's where the lighter half of Thunderdome comes in, when he finds all those kids. He was originally going to do a movie that had to do with like a Lord of the Flies type situation. Not Lost Boys, Lord of the Flies, sorry. Lost Boys is a vampire movie. Which would be really cool to see in a Mad Max setting. So, pretty much, that was the main original thought behind the movie, and then they kind of threw in, like, the whole Thunderdome thing. It was also more geared towards... it had a lower rating. It had a PG-13 rating. They were really trying to gear it more towards kids. Well, not kids, but they were trying to make it less violent for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because it held them back in the original movie for a international release. If you can, anybody that's listening, I would suggest watching the original Mad Max in the original Australian version of the movie. The English one is fine, but I love Australian stuff, so the original Australian version of it just really like sinks. The English dub is not bad.
Wait, English
bad. I think they changed
dub? So like the Mel Gibson version is
No. Mel Gibson also does the English dub, but in the Australian version, he puts on an Australian accent.
Does Mel Gibson himself is talking an Australian accent?
Yes. And then in the other English dub, the one for the international like release, they go back and have a bunch of English people redub the lines in like non-Australian accents, because Australian accents are kind of hard to understand sometimes.
Oh yeah. It's like an well, it's I believe everyone's calling it the a more country Cockney.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it is. That's because not a lot of Australians like to bring it up, but technically they are the descendants of the British penal colony, which is what Australia was originally before it became its own society.
Australia was the first Arkham City.
Pretty much. And so their English and accent evolved different, and so they are kind of like, I don't want to say the redneck, because Australia already has their version of the redneck called Logan, which is basically the lower middle class, do their own tattoos, drinking at the bar,
Wouldn't their
having guns kind of guys.
wouldn't their country just be regular Cockney?
Who for the
For the like the British, or like would they consider the Cockney be like their southern people?
Cockney and the soccer hooligans, to me, seem more like their inner city version of like of England. Because you could say that they're more like, they're more like the redneck version of them, but it's less that and more like they're the inner city version of the English people, because they have their like chavs and stuff like that, where they're out there in their mini coops doing donuts and wearing like chains and Adidas, and yeah, they're less redneck and more like inner city, I would say. I might be 100% wrong on that, but that's, from my perspective, that's what it seems like. Australians are more like the redneck version of the British, and the Bogans are the rednecks of the Australians. Australians, it's more the reason that I say that they're like the rednecks of the UK is just because they just have their English is almost like a whole different language, because the British, they'll say something and you can kind of understand their slang to a degree, but then you get to the Australians, and their idea of British, or their idea of slang terms, is completely off the rails, shortening words. So instead of saying afternoon, they'd probably say something more of like afternoon or something like that. They shorten it to was it Avro? I think it was Avro or Arvo. When they want to say afternoon.
That wasn't supposed to happen.
Obviously, everybody's gonna know that that's breakfast. They just refer to it as brekkie. And they also refer to McDonald's as Macca's, which I absolutely adore. There's a HoloLive VTuber that's Australian, and she hates when people kind of like point out her accent. I fucking adore it. It's great because she'll say water, but she'll say it how Australians say it, which is water. And she was talking with one of her gen mates.
There we go.
Like, oh yeah, you're gonna go down to, and I don't remember the exact wording she said, but she said something that kind of sounded like McDonald's, like how she thought they said McDonald's, and she's like, oh, you mean Macca's? And it's just like, and she just started laughing, and I'm like, no, that's perfect. I like that. Keep talking in that accent.
Yes, go ahead, keep talking. This does it for me.
The other one I found out because they refer to it as graduating when a VTuber stops being a VTuber and or gives up a specific like character of their VTuber. Because there's a character named Henya in VShojo, and she used to be I can't think of her name right now, but she was in a different company, and they bullied her out of, essentially, she basically got bullied out of her being a VTuber. So they referred to her leaving as a graduation. Not a lot of her fans liked the idea of calling it graduation because it was a forced graduation, but the VTubing community refers to it as graduation. So they had two Australian people in that gen originally. that I was talking about previously. And the other one graduated. I don't remember if they ever really, like, if anybody's ever figured out a reason why she graduated, but she barely made it to the first year of their generation being a thing, and then had to basically give up being a VTuber. And then I found her channel, but apparently people had bugged her so much about streaming that she stopped streaming altogether. But she is an artist, and which I did not really realize because I didn't really watch too much of her like main streams. I think I caught a few of her like Kirby streams, and that's when I started actually watching her, which unfortunately was at the end of her career as a HoloLive talent, unfortunately. But she and this other one both had like Australian accents, like obvious Australian accents. And I was just like, yes, this might be my generation if it wasn't for her. But then again, I always say that when I find a VTuber from a generation that I really, really like. Like the current one has the Hot Topic goth Shiori, and I'm just like, this could be it. This could be my generation. Except for Gura.
And then
A.
And then like and then also for no reason you just kept saying Shiori and gone.
Well, yeah, no, I'm kind of dippy about that lady because she. See, the weird thing is that all of the characters that I kind of like, all the VTubers that I kind of like gravitate towards, all kind of like represent an aspect of me specifically. Like Gura gives me that like short, cute, like woman vibe that I kind of like miss from the past. I'm not gonna explain that. People know, they know. It kind of feels like a small part of that. What I didn't realize was. Then you move on to Bay. Bay is Australian. That fills a void of me just liking Australian accents and like Australian in general.
I mean, if we go on talking about with accents though, like freaking like I mean. I see it recently, but they're more like just rekindled. I mean, recently, and I'm once again getting an appreciation for the Scottish accent.
Yeah. They've got pretty good accents.
You got pretty good accents there. They're going there jumping around and then.
Just remember that Scottish people do not say not, because not is something that you tie. I had a Scottish uncle who actually was from Scotland, and he did have an accent. I don't think... I'm pretty sure his name actually wasn't Scotty, and that might have just been his nickname. But his son's name was Scott, so... who didn't have an accent. It was just his dad. His dad had the accent, my uncle. And he was like legit like Scottish. And he, you know, since he lived here for so long, you could still tell that he had his Scottish accent, but it only ever really showed when he got angry or if he got like drunk.
It's kind of like with David Tennant. Like whenever he gets passionate about his acting, his Scottish accent actually comes out. It's been more prevalent when his role as the Doctor.
As the Doctor, yeah.
But that is why I was so happy when he got casted as Scrooge McDuck in the new DuckTales. Because good, he can now be Scottish as Scottish anytime he wants to.
Yeah. You know, like the British Doctor that came up after Matt Smith, who was doing a Scottish accent for some reason.
That's so weird. It's almost like in Scott Pilgrim when they had the actor for Envy wear a blonde wig, while the actor for Kim wore a redhead wig, even though they're naturally but on the opposite hair color of each other.
I was actually going to bring that up. I like that we both had that same thought to just link that. But my uncle was Scottish, and he basically, one of his like main sayings was that Scottish people do not say the word not, they say no is no. Because according to him, I don't know if this is true for all Scottish people, but according to him, a knot is something that you tie. So whenever he would mean to say I'm not doing that, he's like, no, it's no. And people would just be like, what? It's just like, no, no doing that. And they're just like, oh, you mean not? And he's like, no, not as something that you tie.
Like, no, my dear, not as something. Not this is something that you tie.
Not just something you tie.
No, I it's not. It's just for a Scottish accent, and directly though. It's like I just love overall how it flows, and the things that when they speak to you and when they yell at you and they're very angry, you know they're angry.
He also apparently, according to my mom, he had a handmade shotgun, which because he used to be a biker. My mom knew him when he was bikers. My mom used to like just hang out with all the different types of outcasts in society when she was growing up. That's actually how she ended up becoming friends with my uncle, and he ended up marrying sort of into our family. He was actually friends prior to that. Apparently, pieces of certain sections of his motorcycle could be taken apart and reassembled into a makeshift shotgun. Which is just
What?
the most badass thing I've ever fucking heard. He had a zip gun. The man had a fucking zip gun, which, for those of you that don't know, a zip gun is literally just a bunch of junk that's been put together that you can put a round of ammunition into, and it fires that ammunition. They're illegal out here in California.
They're legal?
No, they're illegal.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say.
You will get arrested if you have them. Do not have them on you. Do not build them unless you want to rip off the police, because they have this thing. I think it's Toys for Tots. I don't know if that's the case or not. They have this thing where you can turn in guns without questions. You can take guns to them, even if they're illegal guns. You can take them up to them, and they will buy those guns.
Like bye.
Yes. They will give you money for turning in guns, illegal or not. They won't give you any questions. They're technically not supposed to hassle you on it. And I've heard that if you go and buy a bunch of piping and assemble it into a zip gun and it can fire around, they will technically have to give you money for it.
Huh. So, what technically did you just gain your money back?
It's dependent. You can make cheap zip guns and get more money back for it. Because the only thing that it has to be is it has to be able to fire at least one round for it to be considered a zip gun. Which technically 3D printed guns can also do that, because I've heard somewhere that you can 3D print a gun. They don't last very long, but they can fire at least one round. Which is kind of the like key component for a zip gun, is basically it has to be assembled from junk and it has to fire at least one round. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I'm not a big guns guy. You'd have to ask Scarecrow about that. He knows more about more about firearms than I do. But I do like, oh my god, I do like this one thing. We went to the shooting range one time. There's a guy in front of us, and he was talking to the guys. And he's like, "What can I bring to the range?" And they're like, "As long as it's this, this, and this." And he's like, "So say for instance, if I brought my my Judge, which is essentially a revolver shotgun. It is a high caliber, basically takes shotgun rounds revolver, and it's got a fucking kick to it. They're really cool guns, but they're heavily illegal in the state of California." And the guy looked at him and went, whoa, you mean if you had one? And he went, yeah, you're right. If I had a Judge, I would not be able to bring that in. He's like, no, it's not California compliant. You could not bring it in. It was like one of my favorite things. I've also fired. You know what a Smith & Wesson 500 is, right? Okay.
I've heard of the maker.
Okay, you know the hand cannons in I think it's Resident Evil 5. You remember that really long barrel
Let's see what the next test
revolver?
is. Oh, advanced aerial.
I'm sorry,
phalanx.
Glass was talking on repeat that.
Oh,
You remember in the Resident Evil games they have those revolvers with like the really long barrel?
Yeah.
Those are Smith & Wesson 500s. I have actually fired them.
Oh, okay.
They're fun, but they're exceedingly dangerous. Because my buddy Scarecrow was like, they have a Smith & Wesson 500 you can rent from here. And we were like, we've never fired one before, let's fire one.
Oh.
So we went and rented it and got the rounds for it, and they literally will not give you the gun. They what they do is they put the gun in the little, because you have to put them in these little carrying. Depending on what they are. If it's a shotgun, technically you can't just walk in with the shotgun out, you have to have it in a bag. You have to have it in a carrying case of some sort. None of your guns can be out in the open, they have to be in carrying cases. If you rent a gun from them, you have to put all the ammo and the gun itself in a little plastic bin, and then carry it to the range, and then you have to put the bin down, and then you have to put everything together. But with the Smith & Wesson, because it's a special gun, and it's a dangerous gun, one of the employees has to put the gun in a carrying bin for you, and then they have to carry it to your range. And then once they get to the range, they load the gun for you while telling you all the safety stuff. So pretty much, you do not want your hands anywhere near the front of the gun, and I'm not just talking about the barrel. I mean like the opening, the opening part of the cylinder, because apparently when you fire, the gunpowder in the round for it is so strong that it's possible to blow off your fingertips even when it's not at the barrel of the gun.
Well, have fun soaring through the air without
So
a
any
care
of
in
the
world.
excess like fire from the gunpowder in the round can come out through the cylinder piece and lightsaber your fingers.
Ugh.
So they go over this like whole safety thing, and then they will like demonstrate how to, you know, hold it and fire it once, and then they let you do it. And it's a fairly decently high powerful, like it's less powerful than I thought it was, but it's still formidable. It's like you fire it and it's got that kick that you like, if you're like a fucking nut like I am, and you kind of enjoy pain a little bit, I would suggest getting to fire one because the pain is good. I love it. The kick from it is just, oh, it's fucking amazing. It sounds loud. It sounds destructive. It's a really good gun. Not as painful to fire as Scarecrow's gun because he had, I forget what type of round it was. It was a special shotgun round that was so powerful that when you fired it, it would push the shotgun into your shoulder and send a shockwave to the entire upper part of your body.
Oh, damn.
All of us that fired rounds, we fired like 5 or 6 of those rounds. We were all sore the next day from firing. I don't know where he got the rounds. I know that they're legal because he would not have been able to purchase them otherwise. He got them from a sports shop out there. Also, I fired an M16 before at the range, but of course because it's California compliant, they have a specific like grip for it, which was really annoying. But they don't have a lot of kick. It's very weird firing a what most would consider an assault rifle. Under that term, it's a semi-automatic rifle, the M16. It's those Kenshin, you'd be familiar with them because the I think it's called the assault carbine in Fallout New Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
That black one with the handle on top and the they call it a charger. When you reload the gun and they got that thing on the back that you pull to cycle a rifle in, a round in. I've actually gotten to fire one of those. That recoil on that is so light.
Oh, that one. Okay.
I'm like, hold on, is it just the ammo we're using, or is it just this is the recoil? Because I expected like a heavier recoil because it's a military grade gun. It's used mostly with the military to the point where, unless you're a police officer out here, you don't get to have one unless it's heavily neutered. Like you basically have to take away, because it did not have the semi-automatic or full automatic options on it. It only had the it might have just been semi-automatic. I'm dumb. It didn't have burst fire. It didn't have burst fire, and it didn't have auto fire. It had semi-automatic, which means that when you squeeze the trigger, The amount of times you can squeeze the trigger is how many rounds are going to go off, basically. It's like a handgun. Most handguns are semi-auto. You pull the trigger, it'll fire a round, and then if you hold the trigger back, it will not fire another round. Cycle the round,
Look at
the
you,
new round into the chamber, but it will
sailing
not
through the
fire.
air majestically,
Um,
like an eagle.
So theirs was
piloting
a
balloon.
semi-auto, basically not receiver. I guess it would technically be a receiver. And then they had the California compliant stock, which meant that you can't get a full grip around the handle, which is not necessarily true because my brother and I have huge hands. We just couldn't get our hands around the grip comfortably. But we could not lock our thumb around it, which I guess is what it's meant to do. But we could not get our thumbs to lock on it. But it's I would suggest if you ever get to go to a firing range and they have one, to just kind of fire it if you've ever played a game that has guns in it, just to kind of, it'll give you something closer to a video game. I'm not sounding like a fucking hipster right now.
I mean,
I was gonna say it's like a connection. It gives you a better understanding of what your character's doing when they fire that specific.
I mean, like,
When you
if
fire an assault rifle in a game, the game makes it feel like there's a lot of kickback to it, but that's not necessary. I have like very little experience with rifle-based weaponry other than like my mom's bolt action and her 30-30. And it did not have as much kick as those guns do. So
I mean, overall, if we go to a range, I mean, like, I think I'll just naturally gravitate towards any gun that has well, not really a lever action, more like just an any gun that has a bolt action, because freaking in New Vegas, my go-to gun was always the 50 cal. That thing shreds through anything in the game. Like I mean, overall, like, once you have that once you have that pre-DLC, you're pretty much done. Like, Death Claws, go away. Power Armor, go away. Then once the DLCs came out, and we were like, oh, upgrades? Yes, upgrades.
now I'm even more powerful. Now I'm even more dangerous.
Exactly. Like I said before, again, it's I mean, in a gameplay aspect, it makes sense as to why, like, say, like, the NCR Ranger outfit will be like just as powerful or more powerful than Brotherhood of Steel T60 armor, arguably. And as to why also that the 50 caliber rifle, which again, part of the New Vegas signature, why it will be like arguably one of the best end game weapons you could have, especially the GRA version of it, though, which is the DLC, which is the Governor's Arsenal, which is that version compared to the vanilla one is like one, it costs just as much to buy it. Might be a bit more expensive, but you have the addition of like going to a workbench and upgrading it. And so again, no reason why is because naturally the 50 caliber rifle and don't quote me on this because I'm not a gun expert. Like in real life, it's naturally armor piercing, which is why it shreds through power armor and death claws.
Yep. It was designed in a heavy caliber so that it can go through most armoring of just about anything.
And which is why, and ever since I had that, and like, and no matter what I play, which is like Fallout 3, and if you're watching me on play through Fallout 4, which is I think on as of right now it will be every Tuesday now. It's you see me like every now and then once I get the a gun that shoots 308 ammo, which is pipe or regular rifle, I always gravitate towards the heavy mod for it rather than the automatic mod, because the fact that it's naturally lever action. It's like, and I always gravitate towards sniper rifle, which is like, again, it's more like all you're doing is just a gun version of stealth archery in Skyrim. Well, duh, it makes sense. And especially the fact, but the thing is, though, what makes this one different compared to Skyrim is that I'm the one with I have a gun in Fallout, where everyone else has a gun in Fallout, so they can shoot me even though I'm stealth. While in Skyrim, is like 90% of the time, the ones in Skyrim are melee. Which is why they always say like, oh, the de facto build in Skyrim is gonna be stealth archery, and you see why, because 90% of the enemies you face in Skyrim are melee, while in Fallout, it's a good mix of range and melee. In fact, there are some in range that are just as deadly as you are, even more so. They might have a sniper rifle, or better yet, they also might have a fat man launcher that killed me 4 times. Okay, calm down.
They have their options. You have yours.
Yeah, unlike Skyrim, you have your one option. They don't. But enough about me and my troubles though. But lever action guns.
Yeah.
And lever action. I'm sorry, lever action and bolt action. Lever action. I've mostly been experiencing that only through New Vegas because the only lever action gun you can get in Fallout 3 is you have to go through the terminals and again it's called the Liquid Repeater. One of the best end-game guns in Fallout 3, arguably. Well, in New Vegas, you can easily get one once you reach like either on that one gate that leads towards the the NCR, or my go-to settlement is Novak. Once you get in my personal opinion, once you get the combo repeaters, I'm like, oh, you're done.
Later, nerds, I've got this.
And especially deadlier if you get the cowboy perk. Ah! Well, anyway, yeah, but before I went in that giant ton and that tirade.
Yeah, no, my mom technically has the cowboy repeater from Fallout. Her 3030 is a lever action rifle. I died. I'm very paranoid about that now.
What?
My fucking Discord just dropping me while I'm working on this.
I don't know why it does that.
I think it's just my computer can't handle it and having like the tabs that I have open and like.
Oh.
Because I don't have Photoshop on this, so I'm using an in-browser weird Photoshop-like thing that I found. So it just kind of it's essentially just Photoshop. There's little key differences that make it different. It's essentially just a free version of Photoshop that you can use in your browser. So
Photoshop. Lisa needs braces. Photoshop. Lisa needs braces.
Lamb Chop. It's just Lamb Chop, the sock puppet. Lamb Chop. Lisa needs.
Lisa needs burp.
Yeah, Lisa needs burps. She needs burpees. Do it. Lisa, get down there and give us some burpees, damn it. Just fucking push-ups into jumping for like no reason.
Random thing though, it's so weird seeing Colossus like in that Deadpool movie, like doing burpees.
Oh yeah, I don't know why I forgot Colossus was in that movie. I like the fact that they actually made him feel big. Like nothing against like the Fox movies for X-Men, but it's like when they had Colossus, it just felt like he basically just kept it. Like it felt like he didn't get any bigger. But Colossus always gets bigger when he transforms. They even show it in like the Saturday morning cartoon X-Men that when he would armor up, he'd get bigger.
The only thing I found odd in the Deadpool movies though is like Colossus was always wearing his armor. Like, is not able to in some iterations though is not able to like turn off his power.
No, I think they were worried because I don't think they had the licensing for the X-Men proper, which is why the X-Men don't show up in it.
Except, well, in Deadpool 1, yes, but in Deadpool 2, they actually did have the entire cast of X-Men just as a cameo, which I think they might have like well, that's the thing. In Deadpool 2, I couldn't tell if they actually got all the actors from the X-Men movie because then it's a new one because it involved Professor Xavier not being played by Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
And also the new Beast, and he's the one that closed the door on them, which I could tell probably that's he actually did get that guy just to just make a cameo for that one, which is kind of funny. It was a joke. Was like, also this is a huge mansion. Why is it told that you're the only two I can find around here? Behind them is like the rest of the X-Men. Just nope.
Just close the door. We're not dealing with this. Yeah. Yeah. See, the whole thing with the first one was that they basically didn't have the ability to use the X-Men proper, but I mean,
to be fair, for
Colossus, I feel is like in a.
Oh, there he goes. Oh, Edward. Edward.
You could probably get away with it. Fucking Discord dropped my ass. You could probably get away with it because he's not transforming, so it's just a big metal guy who happens to be named Colossus, without revealing that his powers are the same as a Colossus from X-Men. So
I mean, didn't he say they were not from X-Men or something?
they were. I don't know if I think he did mention the phrase X-Men, but they probably got the okay to refer to the X-Men. They just weren't allowed to use any of the characters.
Well, also to be fair, on the Fox executives, it was Fox, right? Who owns the rights to X-Men?
Yeah.
Or was it Sony?
I want to say it was Fox. I'm pretty sure Fox had the rights to the X-Men.
Because I'm pretty sure
Sony had Spider-Man.
Okay, yeah,
Sony
yeah,
had
yeah.
Spider-Man. Fox had X-Men.
Which is on which I believe at the time on Ryan Reynolds actually, and well Fox didn't have any what was it, like what's the word for it, confidence. They didn't have confidence that this movie will actually be successful because they thought their version of Deadpool on would have been good enough though, but it was a huge flop. So like, anything that probably include Deadpool would be a huge flop. No, they didn't realize the fact that their version of Deadpool was just horribly bad.
No, they just didn't realize their version was shite.
Like here's one great.
Prior to him, prior to them experimenting on him, really good Wade Wilson.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds basically was made to be Wade Wilson. Like he's very good at it.
Just like on Henry Cavill, he knows his post material. So he knows that Deadpool is the merc with the mouth. He just will not shut up.
Yeah. So prior to him being changed, it was a very good rendition of
Oh yeah, but again, I would argue the fact that the post change that could have been a good post post Deadpool. Maybe take out the laser eyes, but that could be a good post Deadpool to where instead of having the belt, he has Nightcrawler's teleportation, and it's kind of weird that his katana's coming out of his hands, but oh well. But the fact that they sewed his mouth shut and made him basically into a giant lobotomite.
No, the thing is that I'm actually fine with that because thematically everybody wanted him to shut up, like constantly. So that, to me, at least from a storytelling standpoint, makes sense that they sewed his mouth shut, because that was them telling him to shut his fucking mouth. But people definitely did not like it. I also did not like it, but at the same time, I can see why they did it, because thematically, they wanted Wade Wilson to shut his fucking mouth. Also, not Nightcrawler's teleportation. It was the guy from the Black Eyed Peas was in it. He was like
his right.
Yeah, he was the one that fucking Sabretooth was like, teleporters suck because they're fucking predictable. And then he put his hand out as the guy was teleporting where he was at and just grabbed his spine through his body. It was fucking great. God, that was a pretty I will say that he was a pretty decent Sabretooth. I will give him that. But my favorite Sabretooth is always gonna fucking be the '90s X-Men Sabretooth.
Oh, where he wears the giant
The giant bodysuit, yeah.
Oh, what's the 90s? My went to the 90s cartoon.
Yeah, the '90s cartoon. He was wearing a big bodysuit.
I forget the artist. The one who was talking to on the thrift store.
Macklemore?
Yeah, like I mean, look at it. He looks like he's like on a one facelift away from Macklemore and thrift store.
Man, he did have a lot of fur trimming on his suit, which is, you know, it's a better it's actually a better update than the original comic book version of his outfit. His comic book outfit was kind of lame.
I got $20 in my pocket.
I think that's kind of why I like that version of Sabretooth, because that, other than being just like a huge asshole and like the almost complete, well, not the complete opposite of Wolverine. They've got their like things in common.
Well,
Like he's tall and angry, whereas Wolverine's short. Ugh. But yeah. I would have to say if any other version of Sabretooth is one that I can say is a really good one, that's not live action, it would probably be X-Men Evolution Sabretooth.
oh yeah, that one.
I kind of vibe with his gig, but he looks like he's going to a techno goth like rave that's being held in like a drainage ditch or like a fucking old factory. He almost kind of looks like he's gonna go hang out with Rogue and they're gonna listen to like IDM music in like an old factory. Like I think that was their whole thing with that version of like with that version of the X-Men.
Oh.
I gotta say, not really a fan of X-Men '97. I watched the first episode of it and I was just like, eh.
It's
It's all right. I don't know. It just doesn't vibe with me the same way that the whole X-Men. I
mean,
think it's
think
more on the fact that. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, I was gonna say it's more the fact that they want to play more into the anti-mutant rhetoric. But the one thing I don't get though is that the one who took over the Sentinels was also a mutant, and he just also hates other mutants. So like he's a self-hating mutant. And the philosophy is all that humanity is dying slowly but surely, and they're like, no, not dying, they're having babies left and right. It's just all those babies are not becoming us. Exactly, humanity would just rather die out than have baby mutants.
Okay, does that guy speak for all of you?
No, that was actual thing in the I think in X-Men '97 finale. It was his whole entire logic of having the Sentinels exterminate all of humanity was all like humanity would just die instead of having mutants for children.
Well, the other thing that I'm not a big fan of is like I watched the scene with why did they type well? Why is it just there? What was I saying? Oh, like I don't know, the classic '90s like X-Men cartoon. Rewatching it actually gave me a better respect for Cyclops, because growing up, for whatever reason, much like everybody else, I thought Cyclops was like lame.
Well, like a wet blanket.
Huh?
Like a wet blanket.
Yeah, like that. But the thing is that rewatching it, he's actually kind of a badass. Like legit, especially with the idea that you're going into it and going, man, Cyclops was such a lame character, and then you get there and somebody says something and he's like, push me, bud, see what fucking happens. And I'm like, holy shit. That is fucking baller of Cyclops to do.
I mean, everyone keeps forgetting though is that the original that Cyclops was like is to be a leader, responsible. He's basically the straight man, which is why there's always a joke to where like there's that one joke where apparently like coolness and skips a generation, because it was Deadpool talking to Cable, right? Because you know how in comics and many forms of X-Men media, Deadpool and Cable are like
People
so.
tend to hang out, yeah.
And surprising like on best friend stuff. So like he's all like hey Cable, what are you doing? Oh, I'm gonna visit on Cyclops on for Father's Day. Wait, hold on, Cyclops is his father? Yeah. Like how is it though like that you were so cool and he's so lame? It's like whoa, I did come from a purpose. No. He didn't answer that. He's all like, well, you think that that's strange. You just see on my grandfather. Like, who's your grandfather? A space pirate. What the hell? Apparently, his coolness skips a generation.
Yeah, he's the leader of the Starjammers. I forgot about that.
Yeah, okay. Remember one of those memes where like it's all like those text based, but it's based off of like on the people from fiction. Like, but in this case, it was Cable and Deadpool, and so like what the hell? And Cable ends up meme going like, yeah, apparently coolness and skips a generation.
Oh my god, this person actually picked up the reference I was doing. Nice.
Wait, what does that do for me?
But yeah, it's like going back and watching like the original '90s X-Men. Cyclops is a bit of a badass. It's fucking great.
Yeah,
they always show the scene where like Wolverine punches him in the gut for leaving Morph behind, but I'm like, Cyclops is human, and Wolverine has an adamantium skeleton, so if he throws a punch, it's got some weight to it.
And my original intent is like, and everyone keeps forgetting about that one thing. Cyclops is actually pretty confident and pretty well trained fighter in the X-Men. It's just though in many forms of media he's lacking on either or certain aspects. Like for example in X-Men Evolution 1. He's not in that one. He's not the leader. He's still a student being trained under Storm and Wolverine and Professor Xavier. And another reason why I like that one is that they didn't have that unnecessary love triangle between Wolverine, Jean Grey, and Scott. So at the very
kind of couldn't.
Yeah, they couldn't because for obvious reasons. And in my opinion, it made the story better because you saw Wolverine being a fatherly mentor towards Scott, going like, "Look, kid, just go and talk to her already." I'm pretty sure you both like each other.
Well, see, that's the other thing is that's always kind of been Wolverine's shtick, is that he's very prickly, but he has a soft spot for kids. He's always pretty nice when it comes to kids. Occasionally doing the tough love thing, but other than that, he's usually if a kid's involved, he'll be on their side about stuff, or at the very least try to turn them away from their side if their side is the incorrect side.
Yeah, and the X-Men and another example of why how as time goes on, they always dilute Cyclops for more Wolverine because again they want to focus on more on Wolverine. Is that it was a good story, but again looking back, the interpretation of it though is wasn't as accurate as for source material, but then again, they wanted to focus more on like Wolverine going back and rebuilding the X-Men, which I get, and it's a very good story for what it's what it is as a series, and it's a Wolverine and the X-Men. And that one though, they had Scott broken up because his team is gone, his lover's gone, his mentor's gone, so he's just a shell of a man. So he's like, I'm just here, whatever. And the fact that again it once again sourced with the whole love triangle thing between Jean, Logan, and Scott, and like for some reason Jean was into Logan for a while, like what's going on? And then all of a sudden when she had the Phoenix and like she's now back with Scott, and like there's a whole thing with Scott and Emma Frost, and Emma Frost is now dead because she couldn't contain the Phoenix, and I don't know, the ending for that series got muddled.
Yeah, Nah, I kind of like the idea of Scott and Emma Frost just because it's a very weird dynamic. Because in the comics, when Scott ends up taking over Xavier's school for a while, there's kind of like a schism. It's him and Emma Frost that end up leading that school. She kind of like takes her, I believe they were referred to as the Hellions. She kind of integrated them into Scott's version of Xavier's school. So they were kind of co-leading a team that had its infighting.
I remember that comic panel. Basically, it's all like, okay, Xavier, you're out. What do you mean I'm out? You're all the X-Men. Get out of here. But I'm the leader of X-Men. You're not the leader of X-Men. You're just the owner of the school. I'm the leader.
Yeah, that was pretty baller of him to do. That was a ballsy move. It sort of paid off until Emma Frost married Tony Stark. But to be fair, it was all a ruse because he just needed to get onto Krakoa. And the only way you can get on Krakoa is if you're
What?
or you're married.
Oh shit! Oh, is this time travel? But it's like, non-Euclidean geometry.
Wait, now I'm wondering if Jared's actually Australian.
What do you mean?
Remember that time? Remember when he says what happened, but he like shortens it so it just goes Oaxaca?
Oh.
What if he's actually Australian? He does have a tendency to kind of like cars, even if he's not the best one in his family to work on them. Like he does work on cars a lot. I was gonna say he also sleeps a lot, but I don't know.
Speaking of Australian, I go back to our original long podcast tirade, and also on overall, I'm actually kind of starting liking this though. Like, just you and me have a 2-person podcast while I play games in the background. But going back to like the whole Australian thing though, like, did you actually at the very least check out the book or audiobook recommendation I gave you like way back when?
Wait, which one was that? Why were you recommending a book? I just didn't.
He Who Fights with Monsters. By Shurtaloon. Basically, here's again. I think you're up your alley because here's the concept. It stars a Japanese Korean being isekai to another world.
I vaguely remember you talking about this.
Yeah. Again, what's that?
What was it called again?
He Who Fights with Monsters. Book 11 will come out on this month on June 23rd. Which I'm actually excited about because I got really into the story. It's part of the genre of a lit RPG. It's like an to give you a good huh?
Ford really hates me.
Oh.
The man survived her own ship.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Shurtaloon has his own website called HeWhoFightsWithMonsters.com.
Yeah.
Shurtaloon. What if I want?
And so yeah, so the whole third aspect of it though is like so again he's a Japanese man because his family lives in Australia. I don't think it's Sydney or Melbourne, but anyway he recently for longest time he's working at this office supply store. And so he's living alone in his apartment though. So like in his life he felt like some hardships here or there. Like overall, he admitted to himself he was kind of an asshole. He was dating this girl for a while, but apparently something happened that caused him to have a schism between him and his girlfriend. To the point, and again, it was like their childhood friend. To a point where like apparently his more popular brother got involved, and they started dating while he was dating. They had a giant argument, and the thing I got ticked about was the fact that again, one of the things that she was actually dating his older brother while they were still dating. They had a very argument background, and the thing about this though is that he is pointing out that his mother is a giant like they don't use the actual word weeaboo, but she's a white person who married into a family that loves Japanese culture. And she constantly wants them to learn Japanese, even though the dad's like, whatever, whatever about it. But again, the whole point of it though is that at one point in the story is that in his background, he actually agreed with the older brother and his ex girlfriend to put like, look, Jason, just get over it. That's basically what she said to him. It's like, what the fuck?
Just get over it.
And the thing is, though, the one that sided with him about this, though, was his father, which caused a schism between him and his mother and his father. So, but that's near there. The only thing, though, and he has a good. The only other family he has a good relationship with at that point was his father, which he's slowly starting to actually get in contact with, and is also with his older sister, which and she occasionally allows him to be on her cooking show for a while, which it plays the aspects in the following books because he's actually revealed to be a surprisingly good cook. And he loves his and he adores his niece. Like he just dotes on her. But the point is, like, at one point while he's sleeping in his apartment, this little ball of energy encompassed around him, and he got transported into the other world, to where his body got destroyed, turned into an energy, which is and later on in the books is called astral energy. It got reconstructed by pure his body got reconstructed with pure magic into this other world, and to help him cope with this, though, apparently it's been stated in the story that Outwarders will be given abilities by the world to help them survive. So to help Jason Asano survive in this new world is that he's been giving a gamer interface, so he's now able to identify everything that around him. He's able to keep track of his skills and his level progress, through actual game bars, which again this is by a lit RPG on a subgenre, and the fact that he has a universal translator. So no matter what language and everyone else in that world is speaking, he's able to talk to them, and he's able to talk back. And over the course of it, though, he's all like he was broken, distraught. He was going crazy at some point, and the three people he rescued basically helped him stabilize physically and mentally, because he was like always on edge and always like about to break physically and mentally. And so the three people he rescued, though, actually gone back to anchor him down to this new reality. Is like, and they're like, I don't know if you can go back, but he's like, here's an opportunity. Maybe you could reinvent yourself. Be something new. And he's like, and he took it to heart. So he started becoming more friendly. He said that back then he was kind of an ass. So he started becoming more friendly, more sociable. So I started saying hi every day, and that became his character until aspects of the greater whole starts punching him left and right. And so that's a rough summary of it, though. It's just him it's just him in this new magical world that he has to face, and he's forced to face here or there. And what I like about it, though, is that it's not one of those hero stories that, I will rise up to be the hero. No, he is forced to rise up to be the hero, or this will happen, and he doesn't want that to happen. So he's like tired of everything, tired of this. All he wants to do is just have fun with his friends, go on big adventures. He didn't want to be a hero at all.
Okay.
And again, I could talk a lot about this, though. It's like it's becoming my favorite novel. That's like he releases these roughly about once or twice per year. So like I say that, though, but he releases like basically on average one novel one novel per year, because the last one he released came out in November last year, and as of right now he is releasing another new one in this month in June. So if that progress is gonna continue on, he's gonna release another new one either in December or next year January. Well, yeah, I highly recommend it, and the fact that again a little tiny spoiler and a little tiny spoiler and in the future, he does end up going back to his home and explores more about his family, also and the Australian whole. Enough of that about that. Time to go back in time.
What? Oh,
Na, 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 na.
I didn't even know this. Huh. Nuka-Cola. Hey Lois, remember that time I was Nuka-Cola?
Yeah, hello us.
That's Coca-Cola.
No, I'm gonna kill myself if I do that.
Remember that time I was Jared, but he's actually Australian? The area I selected is not empty, it's just on a different layer.
Hey Lois, remember that one time I went to Nuka World? And hold on, sorry, you're telling me this? I had to be forced to be a raider or just kill everyone? Then what's the whole point of this entire DLC? Again, I guess I state this ad nauseum. I don't like how they made the Nuka World. I had so much high hopes for a new area in Fallout 4, and then just like, oh, you're forced to be a raider or kill the entire main story quest of this DLC.
You know what I want to do? If I ever do tabletop or Fallout, I want to have it in my world that the reason the Nuka-Cola bottles in Fallout 4 look like little rocket ships is because those are special Nuka World collector bottles. And then just have two different types of bottles. For no reason, other than the fact that my brain no works so good.
Brain hurty.
Brain hurt. Oh, there's Snuffy's vagina. Checking my phone. Scroll
Alright,
down and it's like, there's an alert.
That'll be it for me today. I need to actually go and get ready because I have a morning shift tomorrow. Well, anyway, and that was actually a good titillating on discussion here or there. I mean, I don't know. That's why I love our podcast though, and it's like we always go to this long tirades that actually what was it? Tickles our fancy here or there. And that's why I actually like talking here or there. It's like I think what was it though I consider myself an introvert extrovert where like I do love talking about stuff I like, but my core is that I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
Like again, like it's one of those things like once you have me talking about something I like, you will never get me to stop, unless you physically tell me to shut up.
Shut up!
Like again.
I did not murder her. I did not.
Oh hi, Mark. Again, if you talk to me or Edward though about Fallout, Mad Max, or like is that though we will not stop talking to the point where we with the, like to the point where like we had to like stop ourselves from being too annoying. Anyway, Edward, where can they find you?
Twitch.tv/Emerald Tusk, on Twitter @Emerald Tusk.
You can,
On YouTube, but I mean, you can get to my YouTube through either of those links. So, yeah.
and you can find me here at twitch.tv/KetchAsKura. Find me on YouTube under KetchAsKura, which I am uploading all my lost VODs, which that's been there for the past 2 years now. And you find me on Twitter or X under Kitchen_Asakura. If you'd like to support my channel and all my endeavors, go ahead and click on my mask. I'll help me so very, very much. Like channel why I do, go ahead and please give me a follow. I'm only according to Twitch, I'm only nine more away from my goal, which and I'm trying to reach internally. And also follow my schedule. It does change every week. And I'm also on constant upgrading my computer. I currently have a good amount saved up. If you want to expedite the process, go ahead and donate. But always remember, take care of yourself first. And with that, I'll bid you guys adieu. Thank you guys for coming. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Deuces.